still can't believe I got the BOFA on the Iron last night. Such a big deal. Because in Iron Man mode, I gotta earn everything myself. I can't trade anybody. So, And hey, maybe that means we can finally go on that date we even want to go on. I don't want to be going too long though, because I want to send some raids with the boys. And I also had a viewer pop up in the chat last night, so I really think I'm going to start making some money soon.
Welcome to episode 248 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and join with me today, Mr. Trey.
Hello.
So we caught up on our rebalancing changes, that whole saga that we went through, and now we kind of we got a lot more. Well, anyways, we got Pride this month. We got the Pride event, which is something that we saw. It popped up in 2016, did not do well. Or maybe it was 2017, but it was people are pretty nasty about it, and it caused Jagex to kind of reel back on Pride. But then, I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year, they decided, you know what, the community's growing, they're more mature, let's do it again. And they did, and it was much more successful. So it seems like they'll be doing it again every single year, because we saw it this year as well. We also have RuneFest, a very important and unfortunately not super positive point of news regarding RuneFest. And we got the mobile UI rework beta. So they've talked about this, I felt like, for a while, and I think for a lot of people they were kind of like meh about it. But I was looking forward to it because I do spend a lot of time mobile gaming, especially now playing not new, but like a baby Iron. There's a lot more content that's just friendly on mobile compared to playing on my end game main. So I was looking forward to this mobile rework, and I did try it, and we'll talk about it. Trey, how's everything been going? How's your week going? You've been going pretty hard on the Iron, and so have I. We're both kind of have these like early game / mid game Irons. How's your week been going? Actually, can I just say something first before we dive into that?
Go for it.
I was feeling a little like self-conscious about our last episode or insecure or something. I don't know. I was second guessing what we talked about because just a little behind the scenes note. We've kind of taken a different approach to like how these episodes are edited, whereas beforehand I would like listen through them all and I would like tighten things up and I would cut content that I wasn't super into, or maybe I thought like dragged on, whatever it is. I would just tighten up the episodes, but it was kind of bogging things down. I just don't have as much time nowadays. I've got like a 2.5-year-old and all this other stuff going on. So, Trey, you and I, we sat down, we're like, how can we kind of speed up the process? And we're like, you know what? Let's stop with the editing. We'll make notes as we go and we'll cut out obvious parts, but like, let's not sit down and listen to 2 hours of content before we release it. So we're not doing that anymore, which means I don't get to like re-listen to the stupid stuff that I say and go, yeah, you know what? I should not say, this was a bad take or whatever. But last week's episode, I feel super insecure because I feel like I talked about how bored I was of the early game, and then I followed up by saying I refuse to do anything else but questing. And not only that, I talk about all the time about how you should quest without a guide because then questing becomes fun. But here I am saying I'm only going to quest, and I'm only going to be using the efficient, optimal Iron Man quest order, and I'm not going to use I'm going to use guides for everything to get through them as fast as possible. And then Trey, I turn to you and I go, why do I hate Iron Man mode so much in the early game? I was like thinking about myself after recording that, and I was like, oh my god, I'm nervous to release this episode because I feel like I said some really dumb stuff. So, so use that episode as a contrast to like my experience today. But we'll get into that in a minute. I just want to get that out of the way with Trey. Yeah. So how's Iron Man going?
It's still going great. I had a little bit of a kind of important moment for me, I feel like, because so my goal, my like kind of long-term goal right now is to do Sins of the Father, so that I can unlock Sepulcher and take agility to 99. because agility is so annoying. But I do enjoy Sepulcher, and it has so many basically the normal chest rewards from Sepulcher is a ton of potions, a ton of food, and a ton of like planks for like construction. And so I feel like if I can get to Sepulcher and take it to 99, I will be left with a ton of money, a ton of resources, and 99 agility, which I forgot how annoying it is to not have certain agility shortcuts unlocked. Like I've been doing Konar Slayer, and I can do the first agility shortcut, but I can't do the second one, so I have to run all the way around. And it kills your soul a little bit. So
it does. We're so spoiled having these like max main accounts because we can do all of these like, these things that just teleports to everywhere. And yeah, like you said, these shortcuts. I keep hitting these things, or like I get a clue step and I go, great, it's gonna take me 40 minutes just to walk to this place or whatever it is. It's funny.
I was talking in the clan yesterday about my super overpowered method that I've been using, where I when I run out of run energy, I just stand in place and I go do some chores in real life until my run restores.
I do the same thing. Especially with like home teleports, where I'm like, I'm gonna need to teleport to Lumbee, and I got 13 minutes till this is done. I'm gonna go, wash the dishes, and I'll come back or whatever it is.
It's a wife approved method for sure. But yeah, so I had a moment where I was trying to work towards that. So I wanted some, I wanted a vampire task so I could kill the vampire boss at the end of Sins of the Father on task.
And so that's you, so you can get the buffs from like the Slayer helmet?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Some people in the clan were saying you can do that. I haven't even finished A Taste of Hope, the quest right before it. I'm at the boss fight. I got there like really early on my account, and I couldn't beat the boss fight. So I was like, okay, I'll get a Slayer helm, and I'll get a vampire task, and then kill that boss, and do Sins of the Father and kill that boss on the same task. And I just kept running out of prayer potions because I was doing Slayer trying to get these, and obviously just building. The other goal, of course, was just building up my melee stats. I was wanting to get like 80s in melee stats to have a chance in this boss fight, because I really struggle with that on my main. And even on the wiki, it says like this is more of a grandmaster level boss fight than a master level boss fight. But yeah,
it is hard. I remember on my main, I got dumpstered like 2 or 3 times in a row because I kind of like. Usually, when you have my main is max combat, I got some pretty good gear. I got enough money that I can buy supplies, like whatever I need. So I can just brute force these bosses. I can just like, ignore mechanics, or like I'm probably gonna do enough damage and I can out heal whatever they do. But yeah, that fight got me a few times. I was surprised I couldn't just brute force it.
Yeah, I think that like Desert Treasure 2 and Dragon Slayer 2 for me are at the peak of boss fights for quests. I should say Desert Treasure 2 is in its own category, and then Dragon Slayer 2. And then I personally, I would think from my memory, and it'll be interesting to see if this changes when I actually get to them, but I remember the Sins of the Father boss fight being harder than the Song of the Elves or Monkey Madness 2, which are the other Grandmaster Quest boss fights. But I'm very interested to see. But anyways, so yeah, I my entire account goal has been to get my like melee combat stuff up enough to get to beat Sins of the Father so I can do agility. And I kept running out of prayer potions, and I was doing all this different stuff to get prayer potions, like one by one, and doing Slayer. And I just kind of had a moment where I felt burnt out. I felt annoyed, and then I was like, oh, I'm playing this account like a main, and I'm like, I'm an Iron Man. I have to do skilling to maintain my PVM. So I like.
What do you mean you're playing this like a main?
Well, essentially treating my prayer potions and my food like they're disposable.
Okay.
Because that's the whole thing with Iron Man. Like I'm, to fast forward to the end of the story, I'm doing armored zombies right now for the zombie axe, but I'm cooking fish right now because I have to get more food. But yeah, so I was. I just had that kind of moment where I was like, oh, I have to go back to skilling, and I have to kind of restock, which I'm sure every Iron Man is very familiar with that feeling of I've kind of reached the end of my resources, and that there's a lot of jokes in our clan with the late game irons, how they have these insane stockpiles of resources, like potions and blood shards and stuff, just to not feel that way. And so, yeah, I went to Temperos to get like fish, and I started thieving master farmers, and it just became this whole, like, my game plan just splintered off into 20 different directions. And I immediately was having fun again, because I think, probably advice for any type of account, any type of player in this game is like, yeah, that hyperfixation on a goal and ignoring, like getting tunnel vision and ignoring any other thing on your account that you can be doing to help progress in that goal, and just saying like, I'm going to grind this until, I get it. And that's the highway to burnout, but like you're kind of hurting yourself in the long run. For example, like if you haven't done Recipe for Disaster and you're grinding this boss and you're getting burnt out and frustrated, like go do Recipe for Disaster. It's huge for your account. You're going to get the Barrows gloves, and then you're going to go back to that boss. You'll feel fresh about it, and you'll have this huge upgrade for your character. So yeah, I did a bunch of quests. I've done a lot of skilling, and I've kind of set these goals for this boss fight of like, I want the zombie axe, I want the Barrows gloves, like those kind of things but also tied in with that is I want to get, 100 prayer potions stocked up so that, so I'm like doing my farm runs, and I want to get like these levels. And I think that's what really defines the Iron Man mode, is that you can't just focus on one thing. You have to do everything. And it does feel good. Like I know I always avoided Iron Man because of that exact, the chores of it. But I think it's like video games are only fun because they are tapping into, certain parts of our brain that are making, they're kind of filling in for other things in the world to make us happy. Like obviously being a video game is this feeling of accomplishment that you can get from other things in the world. But I think from Iron Man, just that feeling of like that, I don't know, like contentment or safety from having, just knowing that you have all this resources that you've built up, like that satisfaction, I think really is such a good feeling that you don't get from, like a main man mode. And it is a lot of work to get to. And but it does feel good to just be like, I have all the prayer potions I need for a while. I have all the food I need for a while, and I'm good to go on to my next grind. And yeah, so that's like, kind of where I've been.
It's what both appeals to me about Iron Man, but also what's the opposite of appeals? Unappeals? What's that?
I said that works.
Okay, cool. We'll go with that. It's also what I find unappeals to me. Because I love the idea of always having stuff you can do. Even if you have 99 farming, I got 99 farming, and I'm like, great, I'm never going to pick another herb because I don't really need to. I can just buy the potions that I need. I'm not going to turn the herbs into potions because, well, I'm not quite 99 herb lore now, but if I was 99 herb lore, I have no reason to ever make a potion again unless it's untradeable. So that's awesome. I love the idea that, like, okay, you have 99 farming, you still should be doing your herb runs. And I loved farming. I loved gathering all the herbs and vegetables and all this sort of stuff. I thought it was really fun just to be able to go do your herb runs and collect all of this stuff. But it felt pointless on my main. And that's the funny thing about RuneScape. Even if something is like kind of enjoyable, if it feels entirely pointless in progression, you might enjoy it less. So that's what I liked about Iron, is like I could just, always doing my farm runs is going to be important, and always needing to AFK fishing. Even if you have the pet and you have 99 fishing, you're always going to need food, so you'll be working towards it. But it also unappeals because what I worry about is like I hop on, I want to go do a specific thing, I'm looking forward to bossing, and then it's like, well, you can't. You have no food. And it's like, great, what am I going to do instead? Ugh, I got to go fish. Like that's like fishing is very much different than bossing in terms of the enjoyment part of it. Yeah. But anyways.
No, I told, and that's kind of what I went through. And And that obviously, people who listen, I'm kind of known as the skilling guy. So it's probably funny coming from me to be like, man, I'm mad I had to skill. But I think it is hard just when you getting in that tunnel vision mindset and breaking out of that and just being like, okay, well, I do want to get this item, but I need to go on, I need to do these 5 quests and get my fishing up to this level and do all this other stuff. And then I'll come back. And, I think it is just kind of seeing everything as progress and having a healthy mindset towards like the speed of progression. Cause obviously that's the whole thing with Iron Man is your progression is a lot slower. And just kind of enjoying every step of the way, which I have been. I've been really enjoying it. And I do want to say, I feel like it's important to note for everybody, if you are a main account or have no interest in Iron Man, we're not turning into the Iron Man podcast. We're both excited about it. But I mean, everything we're saying, I think applies to every account. I mean, there's some idiosyncrasies with Iron Man itself that are specific, but yeah, we're not going to start doing every single thing on this podcast about just being an Iron Man. So I know
10 reasons why you should play an Iron Man.
Yeah.
5 reasons why you should hate playing a main.
Oh I mean, if we want to rant about why Iron Man is bad, we can do that too. I was that guy for a long time
in so many ways. But
I think me specifically, I'm like kind of sensitive to that because a year ago I would have been really annoyed by if I was listening to a podcast and they started only talking about Iron Man. But once again, I've seen the light. I am a convert. I'm having to like kind of rein myself in because I'm so excited about it. But
it's like, It's a bit of a different experience, but the thing I like the most so far is that the early/mid game experience, it's the same. Whether you're a main or you're an iron, it's basically the same. Especially if you're a new player, like if you're not new, but if you're someone who had like a maxed pure, because some people do that. They like play this game and they're like, I'm gonna make a pure as my first account. So they make a 1 defense pure. They get like 99s and a bunch of stats. Maybe they even do rating and a bunch of PVMing on the pure. They probably do. And then if you were to make a main, like this doesn't apply. But if you're like a new player, you haven't played this game in a really long time, if you're an iron or a main, your mid-game experience is going to be the same because you're not going to know what efficient items it is to, buy these items because it's super efficient. For the most part, you're going to be grinding out your own food. You might buy some of it, but you're going to be grinding a lot of your own food as a main just because like, it makes no sense to fish a bunch of lobsters and then sell them and then rebuy a bunch of lobsters at some point. I don't know. That's at least that's how I played when I was a main. The mid game was very much like trying to be self-sufficient in a lot of ways, and then you just like skip the tedious parts.
Yeah. I think my mid game was a lot of trying to make money to buy items, and that it is kind of funny. I one thing, if we want to, one big downside of Iron Man is I always had there's always a perception with a main account when you're like, let's say you're doing Bandos. Well, that's actually a bad example, but let's say you're doing Vorkath and you want, that's a bad example too. Okay. Let's say you're doing Zulrah and you want a blowpipe. On a main account, you can do Zulrah, and by the time you hit the drop rate for the blowpipe, if you haven't gotten the blowpipe, you'll have made enough profit from the other drops to buy a blowpipe. Mm-hmm. But if you're on an Iron Man, those resources are great and they'll do other things for you, but you're not going to get a blowpipe until you get that drop. And that was something that always appealed to me, is the idea of like, if I go dry, I'll still be able to buy the item. Like I won't have the collection log slot. And that didn't really matter to me until, kind of post max, late game stuff. You start caring about collection log more. But that was always something that, that dry protection as far as tradable items is kind of built in, because if you don't get the item, you're going to get enough profit to buy that item. I mean, stuff like I said, Bandos is a bad example because you get worthless items if you don't get a big drop.
But if you get 2 task sets, you could sell the 1 task sets and buy your chest plate.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely probably. I mean, I think the 2 biggest downsides of Iron Man is getting dupes on late game bosses and having to do chores. to
we should do
just to
we should
balance
have,
it
like,
out
a
the
debate
conversation.
episode.
Debate.
We should do a debate episode where we bring someone on who's like, they're like a main elitist. They think like the iron modes all stink, and they're like, main is the only way to play it. And then we find someone who's an iron who's like, no, iron mains suck. And then we just like, we get them to debate about what sucks about the other and what's great about their account.
So you just want to have an episode where I talk to me from 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. We might have some tapes that we could cut something together. AI can do it. We'll just
There you
feed
go.
stuff to AI, and then get them to play your part.
You know, and you got to remember, I mean, people like Bodhi still exist. Like Bodhi is like so late game and has every single item you can ever imagine, and still plays a main account and is still excited to get like a 1 mil drop. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it is not. I don't think we're kind of pushing this idea, not intentionally, but I feel like we're kind of putting it out there, this idea that it's the natural progression to get to the late game of a main and then move on to an Iron Man. But it doesn't have to be you. Like if you, and at the end of the day, what I will always say is it's a game and do whatever is fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think why a lot of people, like why I am playing my iron more lately is because like so much has changed between when I played my main back in 2013 and I was playing through the early and mid game, and now where the early and mid game on my iron is like, it is so different in a very positive way. And it's funny, I have this is a problem I have. I think too much about my future self, and I have been thinking about like, I've played my iron now. I've started my iron now. What happens in 10 years when the mid game is even more different? How do I re-experience all that? Do I make a UIM? I don't want to go down that route, but you know, maybe it'll change. So like, yeah, it's like if you think you might make an iron, like some people felt like if I feel like I'm going to make an iron one day, I should make it now. But I'm the opposite. I'm like, if you think you're going to make an iron, don't like try to push it off as long as possible, because the longer you push it off, the more cool stuff there's going to be to do. Same thing goes with your shitty grinds. If you need to get 99 agility, but there's other things you can do before that, do those first, because an agility update might be just around the corner. That's what Lynx Titan did. Remember, he was grinding. He's this player, the first person to get 200 mil in every single skill. And he left mining last because he was like, mining is so ignored in terms of updates and different training methods that if any skill is going to get an update that's going to have better training methods, it's going to be mining. So we left mining to last. I don't think by the time they rolled out anything fun that he was able to do it. I think he had already maxed his mining by then, but that was his thought process going into it. And I totally agree that like, yeah, I think in 10 years from now, every skill is going to have like new AFK ways to train. They're going to have new fun ways to train it. So like, I don't know. If you don't feel super rushed, just put it off for a little bit longer and it'll be good. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, Trey, I wanted to ask a question before I go into like where I'm at with like my iron account is like, where do you think the mid game starts for an account? Like at what point do you go, okay, this is mid game content, I'm finally in the mid game? I'm sure it's pretty much the same for both mains and irons. Like when did you feel like you're in the mid game?
Yeah, that's almost like asking, what is your definition of AFK in RuneScape? You get so many different answers.
That's true.
I think,
and we see this like argued all the time where like Jagex releases something, they say it's mid game, and then people are like, are you out of your mind? That's not mid game. And it goes like both sides of the spectrum. There's people that are like, mid game starts when you're raiding. Other people are like, are you out of your goddamn mid game starts at like 500 total level? So like it's very polarizing, which is, I think, the beauty of this game. Everyone's got like a different experience. The mid game kicks in differently for others.
Oh yeah. Because I remember back in the day, like way back in the day, I wanted membership, and I didn't think that I like was qualified for it, because I always thought of membership like the, you know, P2P as we called it back in the day. I always thought that was like a continuation of the free to play mode, as you know, obviously it's not. It's like you can do all this early game stuff as well. But like for me, like I considered myself eligible to buy membership once I had like I wanted 40s in all my stats, and I wanted all the free to play quests done. So like that's my like my old mindset would have been like 40 is when the mid game starts, and Dragon Slayer 1. I think, you know, obviously
And I think that's a totally fair point, because like Rune Armor, in a way, it's like it's a pretty solid, like you're wearing mid-level gear, which is Rune. Because Rune never stops becoming, like Rune doesn't stop being relevant. It's always good alks. It's always like wilderness gear you can bring out because you like it's kind of cheap and it works pretty well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so I think nowadays, after having, I think obviously maxing kind of switches your perspective a little bit, because you can really tangibly feel the 92 is half of 99 when you get to 98 mining or something. So I think in a lot of ways I would say like 70s, but man, I don't even, because like obviously having 70s in all your stats is kind of, it almost feels like the end game, because that's like, you know, Song of the Elves is kind of notoriously like you have to have a lot of your skills at 70 for. Yeah. And beating Song of the Elves, I almost would say is like your entryway into the end game. So, man, yeah, it is such a hard question.
If you had to it's a judgment-free zone. If you were to say like, where do you define mid? Like, where would you define mid game? Not having to worry about, because there's like, I think there's like a stigma to saying the mid game starts later than what other people might think, because you almost might get labeled as like elitist or something to say mid game starts when you start raiding, you know. But like, I think it's just everyone's perspective is differently. Everyone's goals in this game are differently. So like, if your goal is to like get not just the Inferno, but do all the Grandmaster tasks and all the combat tasks, maybe raiding is your mid game, because by the time you start raiding, there's like, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that you need to do. So just saying that, like knowing that, let's just say it's a judgment-free space, where would you say your mid-game started? Yeah, let's make it a personal thing. When was your mid-game started, or has it even started yet?
I think the way that you're talking about this makes me, I think you have to actually put it into different categories. I think entering the mid-game for PVM is getting your Fire Cape. I think if you base it off of questing, I'm going to say like Legends Quest maybe would be a good like, my account has gotten to the point, you know, one of those quests that has a lot of like 50s and skill requirements or quest point requirements. I think Legends Quest would be a good one for that, where it's like, okay, you can't do this quest until your account has progressed to a certain point. And if you are experienced in the game, you know how to get to those points really quickly. Like obviously we've seen a lot of guys who rush, a lot of Iron Man rush Song of the Elves, and they can get that very quickly. You know, they know the ways to do that efficiently. But if you don't know what you're doing, then by the time you get to Legends Quest, you're going to have a good baseline foundation for everything, which is funny because I haven't done Legends Quest on this account yet. But and then
isn't it funny how Legends Quest used to be the big boy quest back in the day, where you saw somebody with a Legends cape? A Legends cape at some point was like, it felt like today's Fire Cape.
Yeah.
Where you saw someone with a Legends cape wearing full Rune and the white gloves and white boots. You're like, that person's gaming. They're gonna get their, and then you're like, you know that they're ready for their Fire Cape, which was the Inferno cape back then.
Yeah. Oh
Everything's kind of just slid up a bit.
There was the phase of my life where all I wanted was the Legends cape, and then there was the phase of my life where all I wanted was the Quest cape. Like I just thought those were so cool, and I always paired it. This is my peak fashion scape of like 2006. I always paired it during what's the one after Plague City? Whatever the second Ardoin quest line quest is. Yes, Biohazard. You get that doctor's gown, which is literally just a white t-shirt. And so pairing that just clean white t-shirt with the Legends cape was my peak fashion scape back in the day. I thought I was the bee's knees. And you know what? I was.
Yeah, you were. And then you like the peak gamer, like this person could really fuck you up if you bumped into them in wilderness. It's full Rune with a dragon square shield and a dragon longsword with your Legends cape. And then, the white gloves and white boots. You know that person is not messing around, and they got the glory on and everything.
Yeah. I think that, what's that quest where you have, there's like that guy that's like the ultimate, I think it's Ghost Ahoy, where it's like Cow Slayer 69 or something.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what they're wearing, is what you just described.
We got a Darrock's helmet. I just did that quest, I think. So it's like a little wacky. And I think they got the great sword, the great axe as well.
But yeah, as far as like skilling goes, like I said, back in the day, I would have said like 40s. I think if you're taking like skilling from 1 to 99, it feels like 70 is when you kind of unlock a lot of your like, there's a lot of skills where at 70 you unlock a method that you'll take to like 90 or even 99. So that feels like you're entering the mid game. This conversation is so hard. Yeah, because like what is the mid game? What is the end game?
I think I like realized what the mid game is for me, which is why I wanted to ask, because like last episode, when I was talking, I felt very much in the early game. And so again, I talked about how I felt very compelled to do all these quests, but I wasn't having fun. I was like, I can't shake it. Like, I'm not having fun, but I feel like I need to do these quests. And I fall into that trap that like you would warn people of, where it's like, don't be super efficient if you're not having fun, because you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to enjoy it. Play the game for fun. But here I am doing the exact same thing that I know I would be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this if someone else was complaining about it. And, first off, I think tomorrow actually, I'm going to go speak to a psychologist. This is going to get deep. I'm going to speak to a psychologist because I think I might have like ADHD or something, because I always felt like maybe my brain worked a bit. I always felt like I was just a weird person. I just felt like maybe like I was just a bit weird, maybe a bit odd. And I was like, that's fine. People are weird. I'm a bit awkward and whatever. I didn't think much about it. And I think the problem is that like, when you hear ADHD or ADD, like everyone has it. So then it kind of like, it's so like normalized that you think it's not like a real thing. At least I didn't think it was, so what, I have ADHD. If I have ADHD, it's not a big deal. Everybody seems to have a bit of it. So we'll just keep doing it. But then I was listening to a podcast, and it was about mental health and having ADHD. And it was coming from a point of being a leader at a company, like you're a manager of some sorts, and your employees, maybe an employee has ADHD. Like, what does that mean? How does your leadership style have to change with that one individual? So I listened to this episode, and then they were talking a lot about ADHD in the workplace, and I was like, gosh, some of the things that they're talking about, I'm very prone to doing, where it's like you might freeze if there's too much to do. You might freeze up. You don't know where to start. If it's like a really big project at work with all of these little tasks you need to do, like you're gonna get overwhelmed, and it's gonna take you a minute to like organize your thoughts and like be able to process, where do I start? That happens to me all the time, and it happened to me with Iron Man mode, where there's so much to do. Like there's so many paths I could take. I don't know. I need somebody to tell me what to do because I'm overwhelmed in the early game Iron Man. And it started out with me doing Wintertodt, because when I first started playing my Iron, which was probably back in like 2016 or something. No, later than that, 2017 maybe. Earlier than that, I mean, but Wintertodt was what like every Iron Man did. You do Wintertodt because you get a ton of resources. You do it until you get to like, I don't know, do it for as long as you can, and you'll have a bunch of GP, and you'll have some good levels in your wood cutting, fletching, and construction skills on top of fire making. It's a great foundation for spreading out and doing other things. So I did that. It was like, perfect, great. I'll do Wintertodt until I get everything except for the pet. That's what I told myself. So I eventually got that at like level 87, and then I stopped. And then I was like, now what? There's just too much to do. All this stuff, I don't know what path to take. And I think I mentioned this last episode, but the early game very much feels like, to me, you're prepping. not a lot of stuff that you're doing is meaningful. Like everything that I'm farming or wood cutting for the most part is just going to be like thrown away or be used to level up a different skill. I'm not like farming herbs that I know I can use indefinitely. I'm not stocking up on prayer potions for using in other places. I'm not making, I'm making attack potions, and I know that these attack potions are going to get dropped once I get super attacks. And I think that's what the early game felt like to me, where everything I'm doing is going to be thrown away because there's upgrades that are going to replace like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. And that's where I get overwhelmed. So then anytime I was trying to figure out what to do, my brain kept going back, well, you should quest. Because you have to do the quests eventually. Quests finishing a quest lasts forever. You have to do them eventually. And if you do them early on, the experience is going to feel more meaningful, because 3K farming experience feels way better when you're level 10 and you get like 5 levels from it versus when you're level 80 and it gives you like 1% towards your next level. I think that's where the early game felt to me. And, yeah, anyways, I'm going to a psychologist tomorrow for to get tested to see I might have ADHD or something, because the podcast really opened my eyes that I might, I don't know, I might have some treatable stuff that I need to take a look at, and just for peace of mind, if anything else.
Yeah.
And I very much was like reflecting on my Iron Man journey, and I was like, I definitely felt overwhelmed. So, and that's why I was doing the quests.
I think if you tell them that you play RuneScape, it'll be a guaranteed diagnosis.
Yeah, they're like, so here's 3 things that we're just gonna diet. Here's some prescription. You're gonna want to take these pills for your 200 mil experience grind, because that's gonna be your new goal.
I've always described RuneScape as ADHD paradise, and I think that is part of what makes me such like a interested in skilling in these long grinds and stuff, is because I love nothing more than just fully leaning back in my chair and clicking on something once per 30 seconds while I have YouTube going. Like it's, and I think that's why I'm not like this big raider and stuff. And I always get kind of, I bristle a little bit when people talk about how certain grinds are so boring and stuff, because like for me, like that was, it's just so chill. Like I like the idle simulator part of this game. And I think that is because it's just enough stimulation to do that and something else, and get you get maybe 60% stimulation from both of those things, which goes above, the 100% stimulation of running a raid or something and fully focusing on it.
And it can be so cozy. Like so what led me to wanting to go to see a psychologist and kind of get some help with my mental health is just I've had a really bad couple of months. Like my mental health has just tanked. I've been like, just work got really, really stressful. And I think there was like no room for respite, because like I've got a kid I need to look after as well. So I can't just like go lay in my bed for an entire day and just be like, I'm just gonna, I'm going to deal with this in the way I have to deal with it. I still have to be like, okay, because I have a kid to look after and all that sort of stuff. And it just kind of caused me to like almost like spiral a little bit, feel a little bit trapped. And with work being super stressful, I just like my mental health wasn't doing very good. And it's pushed me to talk to some professionals. I don't know how I got on this. What does this have to do with RuneScape? It's very cozy. So like, so I've been going through like just like a thing for the past few months, and like it's nice to like just lay in bed and fish or woodcut or do a lot of these skillings, especially in the mid game. You have all of this access to these skilling grinds that are like, they can be boring or they can be very cozy, where you're just like listening to a podcast and like doing something very repetitive, and you can just kind of turn your brain off, and you don't have to be stressed out that like, oh God, I'm worried I might screw up this raid and fail, or I might upset the people I'm raiding with, You don't need to worry about that stuff for the most part.
I think a lot of what appealed to me about not even just starting an Iron Man, but starting a new account was that all I had left on my main account is in-game bossing, and it's all super. Yeah, and I just missed that AFK. And for me, Iron Man was that multiplied, because there's even, like you were saying with the farm runs and fishing and stuff, like you're going to have to keep doing that even after you get 99 in that skill. So if I get to the point where I have a maxed Ironman, it's not going to be just bossing, because I'm still going to have to go and do those AFK skilling just to get resources and stuff. And obviously that's a little bit not true because of the way that PVM just shits out resources these days. But, if it shits out a bunch of raw fish, I still have to go cook that fish. So there are some pockets of AFK, downtime, because I know one of my favorite feelings in this game, I've been having a lot with this account, is I've been doing Temperos and I get a bunch of raw fish, and just knowing I have that in my back pocket, like if I ever want something super chill, like, oh, I'm going to go process all this fish. Oh, I have a bunch of coal and iron ore. I'm going to go, I have these ready to be made into cannonballs when I have some downtime. Like, I love that feeling of when, I'm kind of infamous in the clan for, I play while I'm mowing. I do a lot of mowing. I used to have a lawn care company, and when we ended it, I kept a couple of my favorite customers. And I have, if you know mowers, it's a walker mower where it's one of those with the controls in the middle where you can do it with one hand. So I'll mow for 4 hours while I'm playing mobile. And so, yeah, there's certain things that especially like cannonballs or like cooking fish, I'll just have a bunch of raw fish, and it just feels good to know, like, all right, this is like my mowing grind, or this is my like laying in bed grind. And it's just so cozy. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like when I hear so many people complain about all they want to do is raid and the game is boring, I feel so disconnected from that, because it's just never been what the game was to me.
And I think I see it from a lot of different angles, because I think I really like so many different parts of this game that I can understand why everything else feels boring when you're raiding, because like the end game PVMing, it's like, I don't know, it's a level of engagement that you don't get until you get there. And then when you're there, it's like, oh, and you get all these cool items to grind for. The highs are high, the lows can be a little bit low. And so I totally get it, but then I totally get why people like don't play this game to do that, because then you have to like, maybe you like don't want to have to group up with people, you just want to play this like a solo game, and I totally understand that. And again, it just keeps leading back to why this game is so successful and why this game is just great. But I've been like going off from my like our discussion from last episode, like I'm in such a fun part of the account, and I love the way the mid game is now, because there's so many different paths, and if you don't feel like doing something, there's an alternative you can do that will help. Like Trey, you mentioned that like so many things give food now. If you could get all your food from PVMing if you wanted to, of course you can also fish, but like I've been spending so much time in the wilderness, and I've said this so many times, and that's why they named the podcast this, but the wilderness is my favorite place in the game because it's so unique. And this might be like a hot take. Because I know people hate the wilderness and refuse to go there, but I love how much non-PvP activities there are to do in the wilderness. I am so glad that they have added all these things, because it's just so much fun. I've been doing the wilderness agility course. Trey, have you done this at all?
No, I'm very interested to hear your feedback on this. I was doing a hard clue scroll, the clue scroll step that's right by the wilderness agility course, and I went there and I was like, ooh, maybe I'll like. My understanding was that it's a one-time unlock of 150K, so I was like, oh, I'll try it out, and then it was like, oh yeah, the 150K is for like one session. Like if you leave, you lose that money. And I was like, oh wow, I'm very interested to hear what that 150K can turn into. Yeah,
it's so good. I was like training it at night one night, and I stayed up a little bit later than I should have, but I couldn't get off because I was like, this is so much fun. And I grinded like a bunch of agility levels at the wilderness course because I was like, this is fun. I'm having a great time and I can't wait to do this again. So yeah, they've revamped the way wilderness agility works. Beforehand, it was just a regular course in the wilderness that gave you, experience. It was like competitive. So I think there's a point in agility where it's the best place to train it for a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. And what they did was they wanted to like give it this risk versus reward factor that we see everywhere else in the wilderness, where you can make a ton of money, or you can get PK'd and make a PKer a ton of money. So they did these changes, and they're pretty interesting. So as you say, you pay 150K. It's basically you're paying for your entrance, right? You got to buy it. You basically are paying your fee to turn on the agility course. Imagine there's this little dispenser that you go up and you put your money into it, and then you get all these new bonuses now. You can still run the agility course without paying the money, and it will act just like it did before this update. The only difference now is like you can spend money instead, and you're getting some rewards for it. So the way it works is, as you do your lap around the agility course, you tag the dispenser once you're done, and it spits out a bunch of items. And it'll also give you this token, which you can then exchange for agility experience. But the idea is, the more laps you do, the better the loot is that it spits out. So it does it in different like intervals. So right now, I'm reading off the wiki, and it can kind of break down an average loot per lap. But for 1 to 15 laps without leaving, you will get about 10K per lap, 10K value. And it's not perfect. Like you'll get like a steel plate body sometimes, and then you'll get like a blighted super restore. So if you're main, it's pretty close to 10K each time you go around, because you can always sell that super restore. But if you're an iron, like you get some alkables, and then you get some supplies as well, which I love that, by the way. I love the idea of stocking up on these blighted resources, because like I said, I love the wilderness. So having a bunch of super restores that I'm starting to build up the stockpile for, that when I'm ready to grind out the Void Waker or do some Rev Caves or whatever it is, I have this loot stash kind of building up. So yeah, for the first 15 laps, it's 10K. And then the next 15 laps, from 16 to 30, it's 20K. And then from 30 to 60 laps, it's 30K. And then 61, every lap you make after that is 40K per lap. So it'll start spitting out like rune items and all this sort of fun stuff. And they're all noted too, by the way. So you have your looting bay, you just toss them in there, and you can run it forever. So it's an interesting system. And on top of that, like I said, you get these tokens every time you tag the dispenser. You get one token, and it works the same way, where the more tokens you collect and exchange at once, the more experience you're going to get. So the experience just increases the more tokens you have. So you're really encouraged to like not leave the agility course. It really encourages you to just keep running it and basically. And I've noticed they've been doing this to a lot of Wildy content, and I love it. But boy, does it encourage some bad feelings, I guess. Because like, it gets you to stay way longer than you should have. Because you keep getting more food, you keep getting this or that, and you're like, there's all these reasons why you shouldn't leave. Now you should do just one more lap. And then, of course, that one more lap, a PKer shows up, kills you, and you're like, oh, I should have left earlier. But they have this weird system, so as soon as you leave the agility course, everything resets. You lose your money, all your lap counts reset back to 0, and all that sort of stuff. And what happens? So if you stay within the wilderness course, everything keeps counting up. But if you if you hop worlds, you lose 25 laps from your lap count. So the idea is like you want to hop worlds if you see a PKer, but it's going to reset you a little bit. It's going to set you back a bit. And 25 laps is a lot. I had to world hops. Yeah, so many times it would shoot me back to 0 laps. I'm like, fuck, man, I got to do this again. So anyway, it's a lot of fun because you can run it. You're making some fair money. You're getting all these resources, and you have this excitement of these PKers showing up that are going to PK you. And the wilderness course is pretty big. It is pretty easy to get away from PKers, and it feels great. There's so many little tricks you can do to like build a gap between a PKer that's chasing you, or just delay them so that you can log out before they reach you. There's all these little tricks, and you feel so good when you can get away with, world hopping when a PKer is trying to get you. So anyways, I'm a big fan of the Wilderness Agility course because, and by the way, I haven't even made it out of the Wilderness Agility course with loot yet. I got PK'd every single time, but it's fun. I find it very exciting, and I'm so happy that they have a way I can train agility that I think I'm gonna like for the long term. But I've been doing that. I've been doing a lot of Wilderness Slayer. And because it's the same idea, Wilderness Slayer, you have a chance of getting all these drops that are gonna, blighted resources or these Laren's keys that can be exchanged for like some pretty high loot value. And then there's what is the other thing I've been doing? Zombie Pirates, which is just like this really easy money maker, but a lot of PKers are there. But what I love about the Wilderness content is that it allowed me to skip so many of the boring early game grinds. Like I find early game Slayer to be extremely boring because all the monsters you're killing, they don't drop anything good, nothing exciting. There's not much you're going to get from the monsters that you're killing that you're going to keep long term. Maybe herbs and seeds. But like there's not a whole lot of things. Whereas Wilderness Slayer, it's throwing you to like a bunch of different monsters and you're getting a ton of experience. You're getting a lot of cool loot and a lot of Slayer points. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on this giant ramble about why I love the agility or why I love the Wilderness so much, but I do love it because it's just allowed the early game to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more feels more meaningful to me.
Can I run a couple ideas by you that have I've heard talked about?
Yeah.
So I think coming from an Iron Man perspective, I think something that, the annoying thing about the Wilderness is getting PK'd and losing things that aren't very valuable GP wise, but were very hard for you to get. Like early game, like an Amulet of Power or something like, something like that. And I've heard a couple of solutions to that. Completely different solutions to completely different problems, but I'm curious to run a couple of them by you and see what you think. So the first one is just something that I've personally had the idea of, and I don't know what it would actually look like, but essentially, I feel like it would be a win-win if you could actually select which 3 items you keep upon death. Because I feel like it's a win-win because, like, for me, I remember when I was doing early Wilderness Slayer, my Expeditious Bracelet was being protected over my Amulet of Glory. Or sorry, my amulet of Power, sorry. And for me, it's like I can craft one of those in a second, and the other one, I have to go do all this, these chores to get back. And if it's a GP thing, like the person who PKs me, if I select to keep the less valuable item, then the PKer is going to get more money from it. So yeah, I was trying to think like, how could you break that? And I couldn't think of a way of like cheating that system. So I don't know. What would you think about being able to just select which items you keep on death for any account?
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea because like, I had that happen. I was, previously to playing this, a couple weeks ago, I wasn't playing this iron. I was playing a combat only iron account. And I lost a power amulet, I think 2 or 3 times. And that's frustrating because, like you said, it's way harder to get than what is usually being protected over it. So what was happening with me was I was killing zombie pirates. I might have not had a looting bag on me, and I just wasn't thinking. And then I get like a rune battle axe drop from the zombie pirates, and then somebody PKs me, and I lose the power amulet and keep the rune battle axe. And it's like, like the rune battle axe is easy to get. I can kill these zombie pirates, and they're gonna drop it off. And by the way, it's like, what am I using this for? By the way, the rune battle axe, it's just there. Whereas the power amulet, I have to kill this deranged archaeologist or I forget which one it is, but the one in the Wilderness, and it can be a pain in the ass to get. It's because you got to waste like super restorers or prayer potions.
Are you talking about for the rune crossbow?
Well, that's where I got my power amulet, was the crazed archaeologist while I was grinding for that. So I lost it both times, and I had to go back and grind out the rune crossbow while being like, I kind of hope I get the power amulet first because I don't know if I'm going to stay here for the power amulet. So anyways, my point is I think that's a great idea if you could select your items. I don't see any downsides to it. There might be, but I don't know of them.
Cool. Okay, so you're fully on board with that idea. I'm locking it in.
I'm doing it. I'll like I'll upvote your Reddit post.
My Reddit post. Okay, so the next one is a lot bigger. but it's I don't know if you watch a lot of Seibei's stuff, but he's been pushing this
Not quite.
idea. Because he's been talking about a lot is to add a coffer for Ironman that will because his whole thing is dying and losing your untradables. And so what he wants to do is add a death's coffer adjacent type of thing that you put money into, and when you get PK'd with an untradable, then you get to keep the untradable, but an equivalent amount of GP is pulled from that coffer and given to the one who kills you. What the fuck? Sorry.
What happened?
So this person in our clan just completed Defender of Varrock. Hold on, I can probably see. Let's see, 12:29, and they completed it 8 minutes ago. They completed 8 minutes ago Defender of Varrock, and they just got the drop for the Broken Zombie Axe. Holy shit! For context, I am currently at 597 armored zombies trying to get the zombie axe. I've been doing it for like 2 days now.
Brutal.
That's so funny. Sorry to derail what I was saying.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
That's how, you know what? Forget what I was saying. Something that's interesting about Iron Man, it has taught me so much about RNG because I have gone so dry on everything I've gone for. And it has shown me how, once again, when you're grinding stuff out on a main and you can buy it if you don't get the drop, how you don't think about a lot of those like 1 in 100 kind of drops. Like obviously, you know, the Shadow or like Bandos and stuff, like you're going to feel that. You're going to be watching your KC and stuff. But, you know, on a main for, you know, getting a rune crossbow or something, you're not going to think much about it. But man, I am triple dry on the Crazy Archaeologist to get the rune crossbow. I went what was it? I went insanely dry for a fucking Xerix Talisman is 1 in 125, and I killed like 500 of the Lizardmen to get that. And oh man, it has given me such a different like perspective on like those kind of lower tier drop rates and stuff. But but that's what's so funny about it is someone can complete the quest and get the 1 in 800 drop 8 minutes after they complete the quest. So, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's
it's very swingy.
But anyways, yeah. So, but Seibei's entire idea was to have a coffer to prevent you from losing your untradables, to incentivize more Ironmen to not avoid the wilderness because they could lose these items that are such hard grinds to a PKer who gets 50k out of it, kind of a thing. So what do you think of that concept?
Yeah, I guess like the pros about it is that like PKers, there'll just be more people to PK and get some loot from. So that'll make PKers feel a little bit more, that'll be a little bit more fun for them. Instead of having somebody who's rocking nothing, they might bring their, I don't know, torso or something, whereas maybe they wouldn't beforehand. So I can see that being a pro, and it allows like Irons to bring, I don't know what untradables it would be, but allows them to bring the items that they want to bring but are too afraid to lose. I think I care less about than the other one, because I think to me there's like we already have the Trover, the Trover parchments, whatever it's called. We are able to you're basically able to do that as it is. There's just more steps. You can't use gold for it. You need to go grind out the scrolls yourself. And I think that can be, what is it, through LMS or doing, I think Monsters in the Wilderness can drop them as well. So I think it could be an okay idea. I think people who don't want to go to the wilderness are just going to avoid it, though. I don't know if allowing them to use their untradables will make them want to go more. Yeah, there's a lot of people that I talk to that are just like, I don't care how good or how much fun you're having, I'm not stepping to the wilderness, because like they just maybe they just really hate the feeling of getting PK'd and losing your stuff, which I totally understand. It can be frustrating. Like I said, I do a lot of wilderness content, and there's sometimes I get PK'd and I go like, okay, whatever. But there are a few times where I'm just like a little frustrated, because you're just like, damn, I gotta go buy all this range gear again from the range shop. Like, we both lost. Nobody won anything.
Yeah, you got 20K, and now I have to spend the next hour getting ready again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Anyways,
it was a good feeling. I think I'm repeating myself from a previous episode, but it was a good feeling when I was grinding the wilderness bosses on my main to have, like, basically I got to the point where I had like 10 of everything on my gear, like 10 proselyte, 10 arty cloak kind of a thing, so that yeah, it was just kind of I would just re-gear every time I died, and kind of knowing your risk going into it. Obviously, don't get lured and turn off your PK Skull Prevention and lose your Void Waker. But other than that, that definitely helps with the wilderness grind. And I was one of those people that hated the wilderness, and it took the wilderness bosses to kind of make me find a love for it. And I definitely have a completely different perspective on it now.
Yeah, it's the feelings that you get from just interactions are like no other. Like, again, getting PK'd and getting away feels so good. A few times, like, I'll outmaneuver them in a way where you feel just like so good at the game. I might have talked about this already, but when I was playing my 807, I was killing the black demons in the Wilderness Slayer cave, and I would encounter a lot of one defense PKers who would show up and try to get me. And I remember one person, they didn't have the prayer levels to like pray melee, I guess. So I ran right into the area where the black demons were. They couldn't aggro onto me because the timer I'd been there for so long. But they instantly jumped on the PKer and they almost killed the PKer and he had to teleport out. And I was like, that feels so good. Like, I can just keep doing what I'm doing because they tried to kill me. I made a play that caused them to have, like, I didn't even attack them. I just lured them so that the monsters attacked them. It just it feels really good. Anywho, that's why I love it. It's just it can feel very rewarding, although it does suck to get PK'd. Trey, anything else you want to talk about? We were both deep in the mid game. It seems like you're probably a little bit farther along, but I shouldn't even say deep. You're deep into the mid game. I'm just entering it, but I think we're both just like loving all the new alternatives that are available now than compared to what was available when we were, playing our main accounts. So it's very cool. I'm really excited to go through this journey. And anything else you want to mention before we jump into the news?
All right, I have one random question for you as far as the wilderness goes. So everybody agrees, pretty universally, it's agreed that on Iron Man at least, that the most efficient way to get your rune pouch is through LMS, right? Because instead of doing 750 Slayer points, you can get it from LMS a lot faster. So my question is that still efficient if you're really, 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 really bad at PvP? Because I am struggling.
I think it depends. Have you done any LMS?
Yeah, I've done it, and I am very bad.
There's I forget exactly how the points work, but there might be points for just surviving long enough so you can just go hide in a corner. But what I've noticed is there's a lot of bots that are so bad. They don't even turn on their prayers. They're like awful. And like I've been doing a lot of LMS as well just because I need some GP, so for the rune arrows. And there were so many bots. Like every fight the first fight I had, like almost every match was against this bot that was just going to be an instant win. You just pray range and you just range them back and they're going to die. So I think so. I think if when I was doing it last week, it felt like it was still very much a possibility for it to be efficient just because like I was getting so many points just from killing the bots. I even won a match because a dude said he saw that I was an iron, I guess, maybe looked me up and he was like, I'm going to let you win this one. And I was like, that's very nice of you.
Wow.
He was like, let me win. We're the last two.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, some people are very nice.
Maybe we'll also hear the arc on this podcast and maybe becoming this god tier PvPer, but I'm not predicting that. I'm very bad at LMS.
Yeah, LMS is tough. That's where I wanted to learn how to like tribrid, and it was I did improve a lot from doing LMS, but there was a lot of matches where I just got dummied, and it didn't feel very good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hop over to the news. We got a few things to talk about. Okay, Trey, we are back. There's actually like not a whole lot of news like not a whole lot of updates, but just things happening in or around the game of old school RuneScape. So let's talk about Pride 2024. It is June, which marks the month of Pride, and Jagex did an event, and I think they even did like a parade for the Pride event. Yeah, they did do a parade that walked all the way around free-to-play Gielinor. I participated last year, but I actually didn't go to the parade. I think it was when I was working, and maybe it was just a really busy day. But so I didn't take like any time off to go do it. Did you do anything around this event?
Yeah, I did the Pride event on both of my accounts. I was working during the Pride parade, and I did the thing that you should never do, which is I got on the YouTube live stream and started reading the comments. That was horrible. But other than that,
fair enough.
No, it was as with any of their seasonal events, it was kind of dumb and short and fun and whatever. But I had some puzzles in there. I think they've, they said I think last year they were going to stop doing like holiday events or something, and but I do like them. They make them kind of fun and engaging, and they make them completely idiot proof. Like your chat will tell you like, this guy went to here, you should follow him. Like they basically build the quest helper into the game for that, so you don't have to think about it at all.
Smart.
But yeah, no, it was a good event, and I think it's very appreciated by the community, and there's always going to be a vocal minority that we just kind of have to ignore.
Yeah, there's always someone who makes a YouTube video. What I thought was kind of funny was like the post went up on Reddit, and it like instantly was like 0 upvotes, which means like it's probably deep in the negatives, but Reddit's not going to show you that. So it showed just 0 upvotes on the post from the official Jagex post being like Pride 2024. So I was like, oh great, here we go again. Like expecting to open it up and just people just saying some toxic stuff and getting lots of upvotes for their comments, because that's what happened like way back when. But when I opened it up, I guess what happened was like in the dev blog, they added the Pride stuff, but they also added a little section about some of the changes they were doing. And gosh, I've totally forgot I wanted to mention this in the first part of the show about the magic rebalancing, because I've been doing wilderness content. I'm a low level. I'm trying to find any way I can like maximize damage against certain stuff, especially when you're killing like mammoths or let's say greater demons and you're like a level 50. That can take forever to kill them. So I've been doing a lot with the magic rebalance, and man, it is awesome. What a great addition to like the early game experience. The way they've changed how magic damage works, it just feels great. I just was like, this is fun. This is a good time. The reason I brought that up, because within the Pride post, they also talked about how the Flames of Zamorak, it was being considered a fire spell, which makes sense. Flames of Zamorak, this god spell, and it was doing so much damage to things that were weak to fire. I think it was just like way too much damage, like hitting like maybe 60s when it should have only been hitting like 30 or something. So it was doing a lot of damage to things that were weak to magic, like Zulrah. I think Zulrah is weak to magic, but so they ended up they made Flames of Zamorak is no longer a fire spell. It's just like a neutral magic spell, and that's what was causing. That's what everyone was bitching about in the post. So
right,
I thought that was kind of funny that the top comments were like had nothing to do with Pride. They were all talking about the Flames of Zamorak spell being nerfed.
Which, I mean, no offense to anybody, but like if like that was obviously an accident that was not intended, and everybody kind of agreed that was going to be a week 1 patch, which it was. But like if there's an obvious exploit to the game that wasn't intended, like. I'm not talking about like tick manipulation that's become like, solidified in the game, but like a week one exploit, and you're upset that gets removed from the game, then I don't think you're allowed to have an opinion about anything ever again, because like obviously that wasn't intended, and people get mad about that.
That seems I wouldn't have known it's not intended because like to me I'm like, what do you mean Flames of Zamorak is not a fire spell? Like what is it? You're setting someone's feet on fire. I can see the flames when it's casted. I might have missed some of the like maybe if they specifically said it's not going to be, but like that does seem kind of weird that it is not a fire. Like there's no, and that's the hard part. It's like there's no consistency. There's no rhyme or reason to like some of the magic changes, which is confusing. But I
think
definitely was hitting a lot. So maybe that's like
I mean I think it was. To my understanding, it was outperforming the Shadow at Zulrah.
Oh yeah. That's way too strong.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I just get annoyed when it's like if it just started, if we had the game start spawning T-bows and they did a rollback, there would be people who would be upset about that. But like, it's it was obviously an accident. I don't know. And I think the other thing.
No, I totally get what you're saying. It's like that can't be in the game because that's such like an integrity. That's a game breaking integrity change that would need to happen. But Flames of Zamorak, maybe you can call it. I don't know. Can you give it a different animation because that is confusing.
Well, and I think it's cool if that was your best and sought spell against Zulrah, apart from the higher tier, because that was the whole point of the elemental rebalances, is to make it a smooth progression. So if that did sit below like, the Shadow, a relative amount, that would be cool. But the other problem is that I think the other reason that people knew it was unintended is that the other two god spells, the one for Saradomin and the one for Guthix, didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
But
you gotta have like lightning resistances, which isn't gonna be a thing, and whatever the hell Claws of Guthix is.
I mean, if you're using Avatar: The Last Airbender logic, then lightning counts as fire, so we can go with that.
Oh, really? Interesting. Everything's just fire. Yeah, fair enough. Anything else about the Pride event you want to talk about?
No.
Cool. Yeah, it was a good time. Lots of colors, and they got some capes and a T-shirt and a real life T-shirt you can buy from the merch shop. So. Yeah, cool stuff. Next we have the mobile UI rework. If you're someone who plays mobile, you might care about this one. I like to play a lot of mobile, and again, I mentioned at the beginning, but now playing a lower level account, I can do everything on mobile, and I'm playing a lot on my phone. I'll actually my wife has a laptop that I used to use to like do certain stuff, but like now with all these changes to mobile, that I'm like, I actually prefer playing on mobile versus a laptop because it just, I don't know, it's not ergonomic. It doesn't feel, I just don't like it. I prefer mobile. So they're changing the whole UI where right now you have these two columns, one on the left, one on the right for your thumbs, that you can open up these different menus, and magic is on one side and prayer is on the other, is on another side. It just allows you to like, open up a menu, do different, eat food, cast spell. You know how it works. I'm sure most of us have played mobile. But the way they're doing it now is they're basically putting the two columns together on the right-hand side. So they're like combining the two column menus together. And then they're adding a new column to the left side, which is going to be like your hotkeys. It's just going to be all these things that you can like customize to make the experience, I mean, I guess tailored to like how you want to play it. So you can like have a button so that when you press it, it like one tap, you tap on stuff and things will just drop. So here's my problem with it. I don't really know what they're trying to fix with this new mobile update. I haven't had enough time with it to know if it feels better, but so far it feels worse. It feels like your right thumb is now doing so much more work because that's where all the menus are. So if you're opening up the inventory or casting magic or you want to switch your combat style or you want to throw in a prayer, it's all your right thumb that's having to both select the menu and then tap the prayer or the spell, whatever it is. Your left side is really just for the hotkeys, and there's all these things you can customize, which is neat. But it kind of feels clunky. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is the intention,
I guess I don't get it.
Is the intention so that your right, like you'll be using your thumb to control your like your interfaces, and your left like pointer finger will be controlling like your actual character moving and stuff?
I think so. Like knowing very little of why this is happening, it feels like maybe it's like supposed to simulate almost like the computer experience where most of us are using our right hand for the mouse and it's doing all the clicking. And I think that that's what they're trying to do with your phone, where your right thumb is going to do all the clicking for your spells and stuff. And it's going to be like your left thumb is more for your keyboard, which is going to be F keys or turning the screen a little bit, whatever it is. Now, here's the problem. I haven't had a great time. I haven't really even tested it. So, like, I haven't been able to spend enough time to be like, oh, now that I'm used to it, this feels awesome. Or now that I figured out all of these, like, customizable buttons and all that sort of stuff, now it feels really good. I never had that chance because I don't know if I did something wrong, but you have to go into a beta world to test it. And if you don't know, a beta world just, like, resets your account. So your account is, like, you're not playing your regular account. You have to start over on the beta world. So I'm stuck on Tutorial Island, but normally when they have like a PvP beta world, because they want to test out some armor and stuff, they have a portal or a way you can skip Tutorial Island, but you couldn't do it. I had to like redo Tutorial Island, and I was like, I don't want I want to test out this UI, but I don't want to test it out that bad. I'd rather not test it out and not have to do Tutorial Island, because the problem is half the buttons are locked off until you unlock them by doing Tutorial Island. So it's like, I gotta play 20 minutes just to unlock all the buttons so that I can then keep trying it. You know what? Maybe I'll wait for some other people to try it out and give their thoughts on it. But my first impressions were it felt clunky and confusing, not very intuitive. I didn't understand what problem this is trying to fix. But I think there's there's a reason to it. I'm in a mobile only Discord, like for people who play RuneScape only on mobile. So I'm curious to see them try it out more and give their thoughts on it, and what they like or what they don't like. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that once you get used to it, it feels just like the first UI. And I should say there's tile markers now on the with the new UI. You push a button and it'll allow you to highlight any tiles you want, which is cool.
Yeah, honestly, that seems like that should have been the focus from the beginning, was to integrate more plugins, because I mean that's always the big thing with, even like I was trying to do Temporos on my phone last night, and even just not having the double fishing spot highlighted is so annoying because you have to pay so much more attention to it. And yes, I am extremely spoiled and lazy, and I understand. I hear myself complaining about this, but it's like those are the kind of little things that keep you from wanting to do some of that kind of stuff on mobile, because it's so much more brainless. I guess what I'm trying to say is making the things that are brainless on PC brainless on mobile, because that's generally speaking what you want to do on mobile, is the like chill brainless stuff.
Oh yeah. And not being able to see ground items, like when items drop on the ground, it used to not highlight the name. So you'd have to like tap over top of the item and hold it to see what the menu says. But since adding it, it was like a game changer. So what I'm trying to say is like, it's crazy how they can just add this like one little change and it completely changes the experience.
Yeah. And even just like, I mean, I think that like the biggest one that everyone can probably agree on is the biggest quality of life plugin in the whole game is Menu Entry Swapper. And like that on mobile, because of how much longer it takes to like right click on mobile, like let's just agree as a community, like nobody wants to talk to the banker, and just make that your one tap option for every banker is just a bank. And if you really want to have a conversation, you can right click on them to talk to them. But like, I think that, more than moving the UI around, I think stuff like that. And, maybe they're just saving all that for their proposed, official plugin hub. But I don't know. Yeah, I struggle to do Redwoods on mobile, so I'm not allowed to have that. That's an exaggeration, but I can't have too much of an opinion on it, but I guess that's the only thing that makes sense to me. If the logic is to free up one of your hands to focus on what your character is doing and to be able to do all of your switches and inventory and stuff from your other hand, I could see that being their logic. But I feel like if that's the case, and I don't remember their first post, the original UI proposal, but maybe I don't remember them ever explaining that's why they did it like that. So I don't know. I like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there is one positive that I haven't mentioned that I think is it is quite nice, is that you can hide like everything now. So if you're just like you can like you have your customizable hotkeys and all these like plug-in buttons and tools on the left side, you can minimize them. So like you're not always gonna need them. So you just minimize them and don't have to worry about it. And then same how they combine the two menu columns to one column, they made it so that like all the buttons that you'll use, all the menus that you use for just playing are like one column, and then the other column is like your player settings and account settings and like music and emotes, so stuff that you don't really touch too often. So they're kind of side by side, but you can push a button and it will collapse them into one column, and it hides the settings you don't use that often. So like your music, your account settings, or all that sort of stuff. So you can it really looks a lot cleaner, I would say, when you have everything minimized. I like that a lot, because there's sometimes you're like, I'm doing activities where I just want as little as possible on my screen.
Yeah, I almost wish that they had the option. This is probably way beyond their means as far as programming goes, but I almost wish it could be like on RuneLite, where you can hold Alt and just set your UI like where you want it. Like if you could like rearrange your icons and stuff like that. And that one thing I would love to see that I don't think can ever happen, I think it would be super janky, is like a portrait mode, so you can hold your phone like normally and play. Like it would be super. It wouldn't fit. Like it would just be super weird, but it would be nice, like for like something like Redwoods, where you're literally just standing there. I actually think it would fit. I have an app that I use that forces it to go into portrait mode, and the game feels perfect. Everything feels like it runs really nicely in portrait mode, and I can play with one hand. The only problem is, because it's being forced, is it makes your UIs very small. So all the buttons that you would use to open up your inventory stuff, they're very tiny. Those don't get quite scaled up like the rest of it does. But it's called Rotation Control. It's an app on Android that I use. I would do it a lot for like aerial fishing, or I've been doing it for like if I'm playing while I'm brushing my teeth, I'll turn that on just so I can play with one hand while I'm brushing, and just stuff like that. If I have one hand available, the portrait mode, and it works really well, and it makes me go like, I could definitely see them doing an official portrait mode where everything's are a little bit more gussied up, so it the buttons aren't like extremely small. That's where I struggle right now. Can we do just an open call out to everybody listening? Can we do like a write in with your weirdest place you play mobile? No embarrassment. We're all degenerates here. I will put forth. I play in the shower. Probably.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. Like, I don't know how you do that, because I get like a droplet on there, and then my whole phone just stops. Like everything gets geeked out. None of my taps register.
Yeah, it's a shameful experience. The links I'll go to, but I would be interested to hear from the community if anybody's got some just wild places. And maybe let's just. I guess there's probably one elephant in the room with that. If you play while driving, let's just don't mention it. Let's just agree. Let's just all agree that nobody does that and go our separate ways, because it's objectively bad, but I know it happens.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it does. I don't know how, but I don't know how you could do it. But I knew a guy who used to play Pokemon Go in his car, so while he was driving, and I'm sure enough people did it that Pokemon Go had a friggin' it could detect when you're moving too fast. It would say like, yeah, you should be playing right now, but I'm the passenger. Yeah, I don't know where the weirdest place that I would play. I used to play when I worked in construction. I would play it, so I would have my phone set up somewhere while I would like be doing work, and then I would have like an alarm that would go off to tell me like 5 minutes is up. You know, you're gonna log out soon. Basically, you need to check on.
Oh
check
yeah,
on it.
I did a lot of that on the Max and Grind. A lot of wood cutting and fishing while just in my pocket while I was working. And it's so interesting how that changes your kind of strategy, because I had to have grinds where I could hear the action stop or start. And so the problem with that is, for some reason, I've never understood this, but the way that they do area sounds, like in the sound menu, you cannot isolate your own sound. So like if you turn on area sounds, it includes the sound of you chopping wood and everybody else chopping wood. But obviously, if you can only hear the game, you don't know the difference. So I could only do grinds where I was the only one there, and I could hear myself mining or chopping trees. Because if somebody else was there, I couldn't tell the difference, and I would think I was still chopping. But you know, that very specific. But it is strange that you can't just isolate your own character's sounds. I think you can on RuneLite.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sure there's something. Yeah, I don't understand the volume settings. When I remember working in construction once, and we it was just like a very slow day, so we found a house that had carpet in it, and that's what we would do. We'd go like basically just go lay in a room upstairs where there's carpet, and we would just like lay down and chill on our phones or whatever it is. And I remember I was like so tired that I just like had a cannon set up, and I would just like close my eyes, and then once I heard the cannon wasn't shooting anymore, I'd be like wake up and be like, oh shit, I gotta load this bad boy back up, and back to sleep I go. Lay back down. Good times. But yeah, anyways, mobile UI. I'm excited to actually learn how to use it, I guess, because if it does feel better, then that's great. And looking at the mobile only Discord, it's not like people are like protesting in Falador. Everyone seems like pretty much okay with it. So I think I just need to spend more time with it. Anything else before we move on to save the best for last, or the worst for last?
Go for it.
Okay. Unfortunate news. RuneFest is canceled in 2024. It's being pushed back. They're saying they're actively working on it for 2025. So Mod Jed used to work at Jagex, and he got fired, went to jail probably, got out, and he started up his own event planning company where he's making events. And then Jagex thought, like, let's give him another chance. Let's partner with Mod Jed's new event planning company. And then he just took the money and ran. He was like, I'm going to dissolve this company before RuneFest happens, and I'm going to screw over Jagex. I cannot confirm if Mod Jed is working for the company at all. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows, but
I thought you were being serious for way too much of that.
I mean, I don't. It could be. I have no idea if he works there. But yeah, what really happened was the event partner that Jagex partnered with for this event, which is super normal, right? You're a company. You know how to make a video game. You don't know how to throw an event. So you find a company that knows how to throw an event, and you work together, and they help you plan the event, basically. And this company went like bankrupt or dissolved after partnering with Jagex, but before the event could happen. So the event was supposed to be happening in like September, wasn't it? In like 2 months, 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
It was coming up. And then this company just like, I don't know, it had layoffs back in like May or something. And then that was like a red flag. But then like the whole company itself dissolved, which means everything that they had set up got canceled. And so Jagex literally can't do anything about this event. They just have to cancel it and postpone it, which sucks for like everyone, because I wanted to go to RuneFest. It's been like my dream is to go to a RuneFest. And then of course with COVID, RuneFest got canceled, and I didn't think it was coming back, but it was coming. It did come back for this year. And then I told my wife, I was like, I really want to go. If we can afford it, can I go to RuneFest? And she's like, you know what? You can. I was like, sick. I don't think we can afford it, but if I can find a way, I can go. And I didn't book anything, so I was like, you know what? I don't think the finances are right there. So whatever. I'm not going to make it this year. But a lot of people did buy tickets. They made accommodations. They probably rented some Airbnbs or hotel rooms and paid for their airplane tickets and all this other stuff. And now they're just stuck with it. I don't know what refund policies are like. Usually places give you like the refund policies are like really nice. Like usually, as you know, with 3 months before the event's happening. I feel like a lot of people will get all their money back, but I don't fly. I don't book hotels that much. I've only flown twice in my life. I don't know what it's like to have to get a refund for your ticket. I don't know how easy they make that for people. So I'm sure there are some people who are stuck with like thousands of dollars that they have to spend now to go to Birmingham to go. I don't know what's in Birmingham. A lot of people say nothing. That's what I've been reading. Yeah. So anyways, they are looking to have it early 2025 instead. But yeah, that sucks for everyone.
Yeah, I've heard some people say, you know, kind of the silver lining of it all is like RuneScape and you know, any of these video games or conferences or whatever, it's about the community. And so I think what I've heard from a lot of people is they're still going to go and they're just all going to meet up and, you know, kind of find the people. And I hope that, you know, it can almost feel like, in a sense, like maybe it could almost be better for the people as far as maybe they can just have like a super memorable time because of the time that RuneFest was canceled and we had to meet in this pub, you know, and it was super crowded because all of our friends were there. And I really hope that for the people who can't cancel and have to go, or it's an awful situation. And I really hope that people can make the best of it.
Yeah, hopefully like the people who do have to go, maybe they like had a group they were going to go with and some of those people still have to go as well. So it's not all just like imagine if I had to go and then like there was no one else going. And I'm just like on my own. Wife and kids stayed back because they didn't care about RuneFest, so they didn't buy a ticket. And I'm just stuck in, you know, in the UK, in some city that I don't know anything about. God, that doesn't sound very fun. I don't know. I'd be upset. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It is unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah, that's all the news we've had this week. So why don't we take a break and we'll head on to the outro of the show. All right, we're going to take a quick little break and head on over to the Grand Exchange. This is a segment where we talk about all ways you can support the show if that's something that you want to do. The first thing is Patreon. If you want to head on over to patreon.com/thewilderness podcast, you can make a pledge, sign up for a tier, and one of our tiers gets a special shout out every single month. So thank you. Just pulling it up here. Thank you so much to Major Ear, Luke P, Flarch, Des Sasquatch, and The Kazi. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. Of course, Patreon's not the only way. The other way you can do is by going to buymeacoffee.com/dills. So thank you again to Zani for the back-to-back coffee payments. Thank you so much for supplying us with some caffeine this month. We really do appreciate it. Of course, the third way you can support the show is by boosting the server on Discord. We have a Discord server, discord.gg/thewilderness if you'd like to join it. And of course, we have that cool URL all because of our Discord boosters. They allow us to get these extra features on the server. So thank you to Rotenda, Omen's Bad, Myzix, Flourish, and A Crusty Spoon. Thank you all so much for all the support. All right, let's get back to it. All right, we are back. This is the closing of the show. Guys, you can leave us any sorts of messages or write in. You can call in, whatever it is, and let us know your thoughts when you listen to an episode. If talk about, do you love the wilderness as much as I do, or do you hate it? Would love to hear that. When do you? Actually, what I would love to know is, when do you think the mid game starts, or when did the mid game start for you specifically? I think we all have a different line that crosses, and we go, this feels like the mid game for me, and I think it's different for everyone. Including Jagex, they're like the average player is like level 70 with like 1,000 total level, and they have their highest stat is like HP or something. I can't remember, but it's like way lower than you would have expected being the average player. So like, is that mid game? Who knows? But yeah, call in, write in, however you want. There's a few ways you can do that. You can head on over to the Discord, which is discord.gg/thewilderness. We also have a clan called Wild that you are welcome to join or be a guest in. Our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com, and we have a SpeakPipe link, which you can use to leave us a voice message that we'll play on the podcast. And the link is in the description of this episode. So you just click that and leave yourself a message. And the best part is you can try it over and over again if you're not happy with it. Because I know when I'm like recording custom messages, it takes me like 20 minutes because I'm constantly like, nope, that's not good. That's not good either. Or I didn't like how I said this. So if you're someone like me, just know that you can keep trying.
But send the entire 20-minute audio file into us so we can hear you messing up.
Yeah, we'll cut it together. We'll cut it together nicely. But yeah, we do a lot of fun stuff in the clan. We had recently, Weiss, one of the mods for the clan, put on this TOB workshop event where we just did like Theater of Blood all weekend. We had a bunch of learners came out. There's like over 60 learners, over 60 KC kill count. Let me say it again. TOB was completed over 60 times by learners. Or other people learning TOB. So that's really cool. It was a really fun event and get people to kind of casually try some content that feels very daunting. So we do a lot of fun stuff like that. So feel free to join. You don't have to be in the clan either. You can just kind of chill in the Discord server and jump in to the events if they look fun to you. Trey, anything you want to talk about before we get on out of here?
No.
Cool stuff. Okay. What's another favorite song of yours? What song do you think makes you the most nostalgic in this game?
If we're counting out the just the main theme song, that one's hard to beat.
Yeah.
I think it's called Scape Melancholy. Is that what it's called? Let me look. There's a few of them. They're like the Scape, and then there's like Scape Sad, and Scape Melancholy is my favorite of all of those.
I see Scape Sad, and there is Scape Melancholy, but why does it bring me to the RuneScape 3 wiki?
Oh, is it? Maybe that's why it makes me nostalgic. Maybe it's only RuneScape 3.
No, that can't be right. But let's go with Scape Sad because that one popped up, and that one was original. No, it is. Oh, it can be unlocked in the Wilderness Agility course. Would you look at that? That's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it went through a lot of changes. So this game was added as Scape Sad 1 back in 2004. And then it was just changed to Scape Sad in October 2004. 2005, the song was replaced with Cellar Dwellers inside the Ardougne sewers. Scape Sad was added to the final cutscene of Dragon Slayer 2 in 2018. That's interesting. They added a hint. They added hints to all music tracks in this game. So this one got it as well. And it was remove the ability to unlock this track by scrying through the Anakaro portal in a player-owned house in 2021. And then in April 2021, Scape Sad has been made part of the Wilderness music genre. This does not affect the cutscene from Dragon Slayer 2. The hint has been changed from this track unlocks at Demonic Ruins to this track unlocks in the Wilderness. Whew.
The music history you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, you probably.
That is actually really interesting, though, because I'm thinking of the ending of Dragon Slayer 2, and it is sad. So that's kind of perfect.
Well, this is interesting. Check this out. 89% of players unlock this song in the Wilderness, which means 11% of players unlock this in Dragon Slayer 2. So there's 11% of players never step into the Wilderness before unlocking the song. They unlock it from Dragon Slayer.
Honestly, I would actually be surprised that number isn't higher because of the amount of Vorkath bots that have to do DS2 to get to Vorkath.
That's okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's a good call. By the way, bots everywhere in the wilderness. If you want to learn how to PK, make a pure and just PK bots because they're friggin' everywhere. Holy crap. Zombie pirates, wilderness slayer cave where the green dragons are, and other places. That's the only places I can think of right now. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for listening. And I guess we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.